Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm doing a nature inspired creation. So I don't know if you can see what I've got on my table, but I've got my canvas ready. I'm using some plastic leaves. You might have an idea what I'm doing because I've got my spray paint as well, but I've also got acrylic paint and a pen. So this is a mixed media piece. I'm really excited to try and get the idea that I've got in my mind onto canvas. I hope you'll join me along the way too. So let's see what we can create. So let me show you what I've got on my table before we start. So I've got my canvas. I've gessoed the canvas because this is one that I wanted to reuse. So by just doing that layer will enable me to paint over the top. I've got a couple of leaves, so I might be placing those on the canvas in a certain way. Hint, hint. I've got a paintbrush to go with my acrylic paint. I'm using Amsterdam's emerald green. I've got gold on the mind because I'm using a gold, silver and white spray paint. And there's a pen there as well. So I've got my spray paint. I've got my paintbrush with my paint, a Sharpie, my canvas and my leaves. I've got an idea. Let's see if I can get that onto canvas. So I'm just using the emerald green to paint the base. I want a nice green as an undercoat for everything that I'm going to do on top. So I've got my paint and I'm just using my paintbrush to roughly paint the base. So I'm happy with the coverage. I'm now going to let this dry and then I'm going to take the plastic leaves and place them over the top. And this is the first step of this process. So once I'm then happy with how the leaves are covering that canvas, I'm then going to use my spray paint. So I'm happy with how I've arranged the leaves and now I'm going to use my spray paint. So because I'm using spray paint and I'm inside, I do have my windows open, there's good ventilation, but I am using my mask. And I'd always encourage you to think about the health and safety elements when you're using any kind of medium within your art and creativity. So as you can see, I'm just now using my spray paint and going over the leaves that I've placed on top of the canvas. And when you're doing this process, it's about trying to imagine what you're leaving underneath. Of course, we're spraying paint over the top of the leaves and we're going to try and create some layers and some depth, but it only really comes to light when you remove those leaves and you see the canvas underneath. So we're trying to balance what we can see on top, but also predict that negative space area that we're leaving underneath to create those shapes and those patterns. So I initially used the white, then the silver, and now finishing off with the gold. And by using those three colours, I feel that I've created some depth and some layers. So before I take the leaves off the canvas, let me just show you a close-up so you can see exactly what I see. Trying to ignore all the colours on top of the leaves is about what we're going to reveal underneath. So without further ado, let's take those leaves off to show the kind of the patterns and the colours underneath. So one by one, I'm taking the leaves off, and I'm really pleased with how crisp those outlines are of those leaves. I'm really happy with the balance of the gold, the white and the silver. And I'm going to take you in now so you can see a close-up of all that detail before we move on to the next part of the process. So I wanted to create a mixed media piece. I've used my acrylic paint, I've used my spray paint, and now I'm using my pen. I've actually switched out the black pen for a green pen, and I'm now just going to use some doodles in the leaves. I'm just going to do some patterns. I think in this first leaf, I'm going to draw some smaller leaves, and then in the second leaf, just draw some squiggly lines. But this is really just a different approach. I'm experimenting, I'm doing different things. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this creation, what you think about the process. If you've enjoyed it, please also give it a thumbs up and give it a like. That really means a lot to me. So as I come to the end of my doodles, I'm going to show you a close-up of the finished version. And here we go. So we started off by painting the canvas with the emerald green. We placed those leaves over the top of the canvas and used the spray paint, the white, the silver and the gold. And then we finished off with these doodles. I hope you've had fun. I know I have. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I really hope I get to see you again in the next video. Have a great week ahead, and whatever you're working on creatively, I hope you're having so much fun with it. See you soon. Bye.